Hello students, welcome to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma, Head of the Department OBNHR, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi. Today we will learn the module Managing Global Teams. This module is from the paper Contemporary Issues in HRM and Future Trends. The learning outcomes from this module would be: we will know the tips for managing global teams, identify the role of leader in managing global teams, why the global workforce is challenging and changing ever, what are the considerations while implementing the global teams, and the strategies for successful implementation of a global team. After completing this module, the students will be able to learn the strategies for managing global teams, overcome the challenges in implementing the teams. In today's competitive global scenario, more and more companies are working towards the management of its diverse global workforce. It is true that a diverse and dispersed workforce will bring synergies to any organization, but it's also true that managing the workforce is equally difficult. The organizations make sure that they have a geographically diverse workforce with the best expertise in all the fields and deep knowledge of the markets. Various factors help in determining the social distance, which includes the following, that is location of employees, total number of employees, number of locations where employees are based. Let us now understand what are the different tips for managing global teams. Managerial skills become very important when you consider the varying cultures and workplace norms across the globe. You want the managers that are flexible and adaptable and who will understand that management techniques are going to vary depending on the employee and their culture. It's important that you travel and meet your team. If you have a global workforce, it's important to get out to the different offices to spend time with your workers who may be based in other countries. Even with the wealth of communication tools that you have at your hand, you still would like to get a face time with these workers. Sense of belongingness or sense of community is one of the biggest factors in employee engagement. It's important that remote employees feel connected to their team members on a personal level and are a part of the company's culture and values. While managing global teams, the leader must focus on innovation. Innovation is quickly becoming a cornerstone of business, and if you aren't innovating, you aren't keeping up. Thus, fostering innovation and adaptability in your workforce is crucial to avoid future problems. Stop micromanaging your people. If you really want your global workforce to thrive, it's time to stop micromanaging people. The most effective way to manage a diverse and dispersed workforce is to hire the right people and just simply get out of their way. This implies giving them full autonomy at work. Set an example. It's no secret that the best way to lead is by example. Engagement, productivity, and innovation starts with the CEO and trickles down from there. If your workers see management and executive leadership, it's easy to get caught up in the daily grind, but if you really want to keep your employees engaged and maintain strong professional relations, you have to have some fun. It's good to invest in philanthropic efforts. It helps the company bridge gaps between teams and give all the employees a sense of purpose and community. Managing a global team becomes a nightmare when the leader is at site for the employees that are close to the workplace or within few kilometers, and the rest are at other locations because the employees at site usually ignore the contributions and the ideas of the people who are placed in other locations. There are certain tips that can be followed by the leader. Working with time zone. It is of utmost importance to make sure that the team based across locations are a part of all the discussions, and therefore allocating time suitable to all based on their time zones is important. Having an awareness of restricted holidays and national events is also important when it comes to managing global workforce. Each and every country has a different festival and national events that are spread across the year. Now, the team leader has to be sensitive towards this aspect of managing global team and should be aware of all the events and important dates in order to plan important meetings and discussions well in advance. It's like saying that an American boss organizes a meeting around Diwali. Certainly, an Indian personnel would not be in a position to contribute to the highest. Understanding the cultural differences is very important. It's difficult to manage people with varied cultural differences and practices. A good leader would be the one who would take steps to understand the culture in fun ways like reading articles, books, and maybe trying to learn the specific language. Especially the basic etiquettes part of the language should be known, like saying hello, how are you feeling today, and goodbyes. Common platform use of shared drives are accessible to each and every person is also a good way to monitor everybody in the organization who's working globally. It also helps you to monitor and identify their progress. Each person can make use of a software by which you can access the same as per their convenience, and the same can be monitored by the leader to note the progress at each step. A peer review or an individual check on people would help to people to know that they are being monitored and their performance is being evaluated, and the leader who may not be in closest vicinity is having a tab on them. Employees should check in with each other, which also helps them to know more about each other even though they are culturally and socially different. The work styles are also changing. It's important to bring in some change every now and then, especially when the results are not up to the mark. The focus should be more on each and every person's contribution to the organization's goal and objectives. The emphasis has to be shared and distributed goals should be placed. Let us understand, why is global workforce management challenging? Any organization that wishes to implement global workforce management, they face three unique challenges: cultural differences, regulatory variation, language and currency differences. Cultural differences are expectations for roles within the workplace which have a significant impact on the success of a workforce management implementation. For example, if a company structure is strictly hierarchical with rigidly defined roles and responsibilities, empowering operators with decision-making authority will deliver fewer benefits than in the companies with a more horizontal approach. Regulatory requirements refer to compliance with the varied international regulations in a systematic manner to avoid fines and penalties which becomes a daunting task eventually. The Fair Labor Standards Act in the US, the Factory Act in India, and the labor laws of the peoples in the Republic of China all impact how employees work and their rights surrounding pay and required reports. Languages are something that needs to be focused upon. Workers and managers will need to interface with the workforce management system in the language of their choice. The system should also enable the organizations with operations across multiple countries to make apples to apple comparison of cost, productivity and time. There are certain considerations one must have while implementing the global workforce. As multinational corporations grow both in size and number, the inherent managerial implications of a fully globalized economy demonstrates higher levels of relevance and importance within global corporations. Global management skills are largely based in developing cultural intelligence or a high cultural quotient, that is CQ, which delineates an individual's greater understanding and adaptability of foreign cultures. The strategies for implementing global teams include, first and foremost, how well the organization understands their requirements and manages expectations. Thus, the strategies to implement global teams are: understand their environment and culture. Before beginning a global workforce management implementation, organizations need to fully understand the legal and business requirement for all countries of operation as well as the business processes they wish to automate. Be realistic about the rate of change. The pace of system adoption is likely to differ from one location to another. For example, organizations cannot expect the same results across India, China and the United States. They therefore need to develop change management processes and set realistic expectations both locally and at corporate headquarters for how quickly they can implement their workforce management. Change is easier if employees share in the benefits too. Very often, companies implement systems for the right reasons but do not educate the employees on the reasons for the change or take the time to identify or explain the expected benefits. This is particularly problematic for a workforce management implementation because it often requires additional data collection, which can seem like unproductive work to an already busy employee. Controlling labor costs should be paramount, as is the case with all the industry, be it service or manufacturing, be it a local team or a global team. A workforce automation system lowers the cost from the first clock in by eliminating the payroll inflation due to employee frauds. In addition, if you automate the complete payroll process, from gathering the clock time to approval processes to sending information on the payroll processor. Improving the workforce productivity is also important. The highly granular information, that is a workforce automation system, would provide and help the manager to find out and eliminate the waste in work processes so that they can improve their productivity. Minimizing the compliance risk calls for having a global workforce management system that can capture relevant regulatory requirements upfront and provide alerts to ensure that every employee and the employer in a global team complies with the regulation consistently. There are several benefits to the organizations if we have a global workforce. First is the performance maximizers. There is leadership benchmarking, global values and synergies flow, effective handling of diversity issues. Let us understand what we learnt from this module. The global workforce refers to the international labor pool of workers, including those employed by multinational companies and connected through a global system of networking and production. Immigration workers, transient migrant workers, telecommuting workers, those in export-oriented employment, contingent workforce or other precarious employment. Thank you.